You can see for yourself, guys and gals, it's not easy to make a pyramid. It takes real skill. But what about the real pyramids? Who built them? Why were they built? And is it true that they were built by aliens or by magicians? Or is it true they have something to do with mummies? I don't know, but if you stick around, we're gonna find out soon the amazing engineering skills behind the Great Pyramids here on Let's See the World. So, the pyramids, you've heard about them, you've seen them all over the place, but where are they? Well, the pyramids are, of course, in Egypt, just outside of Cairo, and are spread, as you can see from our picture here, spread quite liberally around that area. So who actually built the pyramids? I mean, physically moved one stone on top of the other. Well, there are a few different theories. One theory is that it was foreign laborers who were brought in and they were forced to do all the work. You'll see pictures of that here and there, for example, like this, where they sort of show that people were either slaves or foreigners came in and built it. The second theory is that it was the local people. Either they were slaves themselves or they were regular laborers that were put to work to create these fantastic feats of engineering. Usually it would take place once the tide was low on the Nile River and then they were able to work. So those are two theories as to who physically built the pyramids. So how were the pyramids built? Now, because there's so much mystery surrounding the religion, the culture, and the general practice of the ancient Egyptians, again, there are lots of speculation as to how they were created. But we have a few ideas based on some research. Well, for starters, 2.5 million bits of rock weighing 2.5 tons each had to be cut out. But this was only for one pyramid, King Khufu's pyramid. Now, the ancient Greek Herodotus, this dude right here, according to him, it took 20 years to create and to build just one pyramid and took 100,000 men. However, other research shows it took 200,000 men and women to create just one pyramid. Look at that! Woo! Awesome. Now, of course, we come to the reason as to why they were built. Why exactly were the pyramids built? And this is where we kind of get a little bit into some gross things, to be honest, and some of the mysterious things. Now, the ancient Egyptians believed that once you died, something called your ka or your spirit remained, okay? Now, in order for it to remain intact, your body had to be mummified, meaning it had to be preserved. And that was why they created these huge structures. Now, anybody could, well, if you could afford it, you could have your own, very own pyramid. So if you had enough money, if you got enough change in your pocket, you could actually have had a pyramid created all those years ago. But of course, you'd have to be embalmed and mummified as well. Now, of course, inside the pyramid itself, as you've probably seen, look at this, right? You can see there's stuff, all of his possessions. Probably got his toaster, probably got his phone, probably got his charger. No, they didn't have that stuff in real life. But they had all of their possessions in there as well. And if you were a rich king, of course, you can imagine all the rich things that would be inside the tomb with you. Now, you would need all this stuff because once you go to the other afterlife, you'd need something to get around in. You'd need clothes, you'd need shoes, you need money, you need all of the possessions that you had on earth in the hereafter. Now, because all of their possession was buried with them in the pyramid, that money wasn't just for the person who was rich or the king, it was also to provide money in the hereafter for the priests, the relatives, friends and families that were buried nearby as well. So that money was supposed to be for them as well. Right, next up is an aspect of the pyramids and ancient Egypt that we've not really gone into detail yet because I'm a bit scared. Right, for a long time, the pyramids and Egypt in general has been associated with mummies. Yes, we heard a little bit about it actually when we talked about people being mummified to preserve their body. But is that true? And did mummies come to life? Was there a curse on digging them up? We're gonna find out soon.
Iqra Kids TV.
Mummies, yeah, those kind of mummies, people that are wrapped up. Is it true that they come to life and start terrorizing people? Sorry to disappoint you, but it's not true. That's just a bit of fiction to sell some films, right? It's not true. But the mummies themselves were kind of true in the sense that once an Egyptian died, they believed that their soul traveled to the afterlife. And in order to do so, their body back on earth had to be preserved. Now, how do you preserve a body for hundreds and thousands of years? Well, one way is to wrap it in linen, okay? That would preserve the body for a long time. Now, the soul or the car would have to make an arduous journey into the hereafter, up through all of space and time, and there, their hearts, their heart, believe it or not, would be weighed. Weighed by what? Their heart had to be weighed by the god Osiris in a hole of the two hearts. You see, once they weighed your heart, and that is how they would judge you, they would decide if you should go further up into the hereafter or go to somewhere quite hot and uncomfortable. So you can see it was very important to have your body back on earth mummified so that your soul, your car, could make that arduous journey higher and higher. Now comes the gruesome bit. If you're a bit squeamish and you can't take gross stuff, leave now because I'm about to get quite gross. How do you actually make a mummy? I hope you have a strong stomach because we're going to go into some detail. Now remember that the ancient Egyptians believed in the spirit or the car, and that meant the human body had to be preserved as the car journeyed up to heaven, okay, where it would be judged by the god Osiris. But the body itself, it didn't really feel any pain, but it had to be preserved, and there was a certain amount of steps that you had to go through to create a mummy. Some would say it would take about 70 days to create a mummy, and here are the steps. So let's look at the first procedures. The first step is to push a sharp rod up the nose into the brain. From there, the brain is broken up into tiny pieces and removed through the nose. Then the nose is filled with sawdust. That's disgusting. Right, the next thing they would do is that they would make a hole in the body to remove all the organs except for the heart. Jars had the heads of gods on them, were then used to store the organs in. Look at these jars here. Yeah, maybe some of those jars have got human bits in them as well. Oh. The holes in the human body were then filled with linen and spices, and the body was left under the sun to dry. Later, after 40 days, the body was wrapped in linen bandages. Look at that one there. Ooh. Priests surrounded the body while it was being prepared and perfumed with spices and, of course, perfume. After the mummification process was complete, a mask was placed over the head so it could be seen in the afterlife. After all, you won't want to go there with your nose all over the place, so they put that mask on there. As you can see here, that mask would be put on top of them, so when they go to the afterlife, that is what they would see. So that is a bit of the gross side of it as well, a bit gross, but let's talk about the actual pyramids themselves, shall we? Check out these facts, yo. There are so many stones in a pyramid that a wall could be built around this city, France. Can you believe that? Wow. The stones which are used to prepare the pyramid are heavier than an elephant. One stone's weight is more than 10 tons, and it means they are heavier than you might think, and a lot heavier than they look as well. The weight mentioned is still under research. The exact weight is still under research. Just imagine that one stone alone would be more than an elephant. They're not quite sure how heavy they are though, so let's do a little bit of research on that one. They say the rise of the pyramid is 203 steps high. Whoa, that's very far. Of course, pyramids are well known for their hidden caverns, tunnels, and alleyways. Look at this. Inside here, you can see some of the planning, and you can also see some of the kind of canals and channels that were built into the pyramids so that thieves couldn't just go right to the chamber and steal all the goodies that were there or left there by the king or the queen. Clever. Now, even though they don't know how much each of the blocks that create the pyramids weigh, they have a rough idea as to how much the entire structure of one particular pyramid would weigh. You will be amazed after knowing that the weight of the Great Pyramid of Khufu is 5,750,000 tons. Wow. Heavy. That's heavy, guys. Just in case you don't know, just think of something really heavy. Yeah. The pyramids, as I mentioned before, are created from 2.3 billion, 2.3 million blocks of stone, and usually it comprises of about 2.5 tons each, approximately. Now, there's lots of talk about the pyramids themselves being aligned to different stars in the evening sky. Look at this. Yes, is it true though that the pyramids were created and built in such a way that they were actually under the stars at particular parts of the season? Check this out. Almost all the pyramids constructed were on the Nile River's west bank, which means facing the north direction. It was said that the Nile River was the best mode of transport, and that was the reason behind the mechanism. They believed that the sun god would travel through the river in its solar boat. Another theory is this, that the pole star pointed to the north and therefore they had to have all the pyramids pointed in that direction. Ultimately, it is still a mystery because so little is known about such a long period away, and they didn't write everything down, so a lot of it is still speculation and mystery. Well guys, we learned so much about the pyramids today as well, and I've always been fascinated by the pyramids myself. I don't know why. There's just something about the majesty and the size of these things that I just think they're fantastic. So I'm glad that we actually covered this one. If there's any places in the world you'd like us to visit, we've been to so many places so far, but if there's a particular place you'd like us to go to, by all means let us know. Fire me an email on the following email address, info@iqra.tv. Guys, thank you once again for viewing us. You take care. Assalamu alaikum.
Iqra Kids TV.